Hello, and welcome back to the Burnt Pancakes podcast. I am your host, Katie Fensky, and I'm here for another momversation with you. I am so excited to bring you this one. This is with Rachel Chote, a guest I have had on before. You might have remembered her from my momversation about mom guilt. That one still is one of my top topics, one of my top episodes. And I think it's because it's a topic that is sometimes hard to talk about, which is what today's topic is about. Rachel is a life coach for moms, and she wants us to feel better and learn to love our journey that we're on. And that's why she's bringing us the topic of mom rage. That's right. We're going to talk about yelling, about being angry. The word volcano exploding is mentioned in this episode. She's going to teach us all the tips on how we can stop yelling or work on ways to better equip moms with ways to handle mom rage. She is actually launching a course called From Rage to Redemption. It comes out in February. So if you're interested, make sure you check the show notes below because I have all the information there. But she set up the class so that she can help moms who don't want to be moms that yell all the time. And I will 100% be the first to admit I yell way more than I want to. I saw moms before I had kids yelling, and I thought, oh God, I will never be that kind of mom. Well, guess what? I am that mom, and probably more so than I thought I would be. I really loved this conversation with her because not only did she open up about just how we are human and these are feelings we're having, but just really great tips on what we can do to lean into these feelings and minimize the yelling, and then what to do if we do feel feelings of this and do explode. So you are absolutely going to love this. I consider her my friend now because we are like IG besties. It's so fun. She has the greatest content and is just so relatable. So I think you are going to love this talk on how to not yell at our children. Rachel, welcome back to the podcast.
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am so glad to have you back. For those of you who are listening, we did an episode about mom guilt a few months ago, and that one was such a hit. And honestly, personally, I got off of the call and my husband's like, "Oh, how'd it go?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she was so fun to talk to. She was so sweet. I just love chatting." He's like, "Why don't you have her back on then?" And I'm like, "I should have her back on." So I'm so glad
I
that
did the same with my husband.
yeah, I'm so glad it just came to be. And on social media, I was messaging you and I'm like, I think you said well, now that we're best friends, I'm like, yes, I feel like
Yeah,
we're good friends now. It's so fun.
I know. We are best
Okay.
friends.
Today's topic. This is a big one. And we're talking about
Yes,
mom rage. And
yes,
I will say this right now. I'm going to admit it right now to everyone
yeah.
listening. I yell at my kids. I never
Mhm.
thought I was going to yell at them. I saw other moms before I had kids yelling, and I'm like, oh, I will not be that kind of mom. Well, I am that kind of mom.
Yes,
And
yes,
you're here to tell us a little bit about it, opening up that it is very common to feel this way, but also there are answers and there is tips on what we can do if we
yes,
don't want to be that kind of mom. So,
yes, absolutely.
what is mom rage? What would you define it as?
Mom rage it's rage, it's anger, but it's so particular to the nuances that come in motherhood. So it's like out of character snapping. Like you just don't expect yourself to have that snap or the outburst, or you feel out of control. It can even start in pregnancy because pregnancy, of course, with the hormone shifts, that happens as
Mhm.
well. Um, Mom rage is like when you're snapping at your kids, at your husband, God, even the dogs, the dogs get the brunt of it too. And it's usually followed by guilt or shame. You really don't want to do it. It's usually characterized by a feeling of I'm just not going to do that again. But the big character is it's just these out of character
Yeah.
snaps where you're like, where did that even come from? It came out of nowhere. I don't know where it is. And
Yeah.
it just feels like an almost out of body experience, to be honest.
Yeah. I love how you described it as it came out of nowhere. Because there's
Yeah.
so many times where maybe it's because it's like building, 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 and then it's just a snap. And I will
Yes.
say that I have felt this with a newborn baby and my 9-year-old child. Like, it's not something
Yes.
that like, oh, it's when they're little, you'll feel this. Or like, I
Yes.
remember having my baby crying, crying, crying and not be able to get him to sleep. Or I finally get him to sleep and like 10 minutes later, he wakes up and just being like, ah, why won't you sleep? And then I'm like, you're this
Yes.
innocent baby. What's wrong with
Yes.
me?
Yes, exact scenario is the reason why that is like the birth of Rage to Redemption, the course is I remember I was like, I don't know, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks postpartum with my first. I had had a hard birth. I had had a C-section that I didn't plan. Baby was not sleeping, and my husband was standing next to me. And I was thinking, okay, I have to be the mom who has it together and knows what I'm
Mhm.
doing. And I don't know what the heck I'm doing,
Yep.
but
Yep.
I'm going to figure this out. I'm rocking the baby. The baby won't quiet down.
Why won't they
And
stop
I
crying?
lifted him and said, stop crying, and like yelled. And
Yes.
my husband, like the shame that I felt seeing my husband and how he like just looked at me, and he's so understanding, but he looked in shock. And I just remembered like the deepest form of shame washing across my body, and
Mhm.
like, oh my God, I'm a monster. I
Yeah.
just yelled at my
How could
newborn
I
baby
yell at a
to stop
baby?
crying.
Mhm.
And it's an innocent baby. So that
Mhm.
exact thing, it happens so much more often than people will admit. And if
Mhm.
that's you listening, you're not alone. And I would even say you're not a monster. There's just better tools out there for you. But
Yeah.
my goodness, that was the birth of me being like,
That's
this
when it
is
started.
way harder than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And it just comes out and you can't stop
Yes.
it.
Yes, you
Yeah. And
can't
I
help
think
it at
you're right.
all.
Once it happens, then you go, oh God, I wish I hadn't have done that.
Yes.
So we'll talk all about like how we get through that. But
Yes.
can you think of any like common misconceptions about mom rage?
Common misconceptions. I mean, I have a couple that I think of right now, which is one, that you're not supposed to feel anger at all in motherhood. That like that's a icky feeling. No, no, you should not feel
Mhm. You're
angry.
the adult, they're the child. Like you need to have it
Yes.
all together. Yeah.
Yes,
Control
all
your
the time.
emotions. Hmm.
Yes. And that I think is we're actually doing a disservice to our kids if we believe that we should never show anger, because then we are never able to model how we show ourselves working through the anger. So your anger, like I want to say your anger is not the like the villain in your story. It's really a lighthouse to show you like, hey, these things need some attention. It's guiding you everywhere you go. Your anger is
Hmm.
like constantly giving you information as to how you are feeling, what you're thinking, what you're believing, and how like full your tank is, how empty it is, what you need. I mean, your anger is such a beautiful guide as to how to help you to help yourself feel better. But we often think it's this like, oh, shame, hide it away. No, don't talk about it. And it shouldn't even be there. It's a no,
Mm.
no.
That's a very good point because I think I do try and do that. Like I don't show my
Yeah.
emotions, but then when I see my kids working through when they get mad and they just like instantly hit their brother, I'm like, how could you do that? Well, because I haven't really taught them, oh, when you feel angry, this is one thing you could do. Or I am working on teaching them that, but
Me too.
their instant reaction is to hit each other. Whereas I feel
Yeah.
like my instant reaction is yell. Ah.
Yeah.
What are
So
some
normal.
common triggers for you when it comes to mom rage
Okay, for me,
or moms in general?
I polled a community of mine to ask them like what's common about theirs. So I'll talk about theirs as well as pitching in on my
Okay.
own.
Okay.
Um, common triggers, the main one that everybody said, and it's one of mine too, whining. Whining,
Mm.
that's like the constantness of
Mhm.
whining is it's hard to hear. Not listening or doing what they're told. And as I'm doing this, I hope whoever's listening
Those
is
are like my
like
top
just
two.
comforted by like, oh,
Right.
I'm not alone. I'm not alone in
Right.
this. I'm not some
Mhm.
crazy mom who's like upset by her kids just having fun and being loud. No, you're
Oh my
not.
God. That was so last night. That was
Yes.
exactly last night. But you're right. It's for me, it's the noise. The
It's the
noise.
noise.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the
Noise,
noise.
not listening.
Yes. Fighting or being unkind, that can instantly like trigger rage in moms. I know that for me, it was such a weird feeling seeing my first and my second start to like hurt each other when they were
Yep.
angry. And it was this weird overprotective of the one who got hurt and this strange anger towards the one who
Yep.
hurt. But you love them so much, but you're also like, you just hurt the other one I love
Yes.
so much. Like, what
Yes.
is this strange feeling? Mess, like people leaving messes, kids
Mm-hmm.
messing up things when you just cleaned it. You wipe those floors and they walk in with their
That
dirty shoes
room
and
that I told you to clean and it's still not clean. Yes.
yes.
I do think
That
there is some science behind like clutter and
there
just
is.
your overall like peace of mind.
Yes, there totally is 100%. So it's totally understandable why we feel that anger and upsetness. And we also have some thoughts attached to our kids should be listening to us when they tell, like you
Mm-hmm.
say, clean your rooms. And we also have some thoughts about if you don't learn how to clean your room, you will not be set up for success. And this is me, it's a reflection of my parenting if you're not cleaning up on
Yeah.
your like on your side. And
Yeah.
that's hard as well. Only wanting mom is a very big trigger when you're
Oh,
like, look, 3 feet that way. Look at your dad.
yes.
He's right there.
Yes. Oh,
But
I
they're
remember,
really
especially when they're little, I remember that. Like
I
in the
just
bed, they
posted
would not, nope, it had to be mom. Oh, you're right.
Yes, I just posted a picture on my stories. I should put it on my feed. My husband took a photo of my son and my daughter. My daughter has my hands, my son has my feet, and they're pulling me on the ground, and she's pulling me to her bedtime, and he's pulling me to his bedtime, and they're like, "No, I just want to wait." And my husband is standing there, and he's
He's
like,
like, let me get a picture of this.
"Yeah." Well, I did say, "This is the picture of motherhood," and he was like, "You're
Uh-huh.
right." He took a
Yeah.
picture.
But it does start to even out a little bit as they get older, especially with
Oh,
boys.
100%.
Because I feel like my boys now, it's like my husband is so cool. And it's like, oh, there's mom.
I
So
know. That's how
I kept telling
I can
myself when
check
they
on that
only
with my
wanted me,
son.
I'm like, when they get older, this is gonna be
Yes.
different. But
Yes.
especially if they want to be on you. Like,
Yes, that was the other thing is feeling like touched out.
mhm,
That was me yesterday. I actually felt so touched out. Both kids wanted to be on me. Both my
mhm,
older kids. I have a third one. But she's 5 months old. She's on me for breastfeeding
all the
too,
time.
but
Yeah.
she gets her turn. But the other two were like on me. And I was thinking like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I am feeling so overwhelmed
Yes.
and upset.
And I try and tell them, I'm like, it's okay if you're on me, just stop wiggling. It's like they're on me,
Yes.
they're off me, they're on me, they're off me. I'm like, just sit still, don't
Yes.
move. And they're like, I can't not move, mom.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Um, okay, what else? I'm gonna go do a couple more. One that I actually coach clients on, and someone mentioned this in their responses, was their husbands being on their phone a lot is a big trigger for like feeling upset in motherhood when it's like, what are you doing? Especially if it's like at the dinner table or the breakfast table.
Or
That
like,
gets
do you see me doing all of this? No, you're on your phone.
yes, yes, and like, how are you relaxing right now?
Yes. Oh, I
Yes.
could see that. Yeah.
Yep.
And vice versa.
Um,
Like I think
oh,
I'm on my phone too
100%.
much. So
100%.
mm,
I agree, especially when your phone is your job. That's hard.
yes. And I have to
That's
tell my
really hard.
kids that sometimes. If I had my kids say before, Mom, put your phone down. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh God, I feel so bad. But I'm like, but I'm
Yes.
answering the email with a
Yeah.
client. Like
Yes.
I'm trying to, yeah.
Yeah, trying to
Mm,
sneak a little work and it's like, I'm trying to
yeah.
help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Um,
That one I wouldn't have thought of off the top of my head. That one's interesting.
yeah. Yeah, and it's like so many things that you don't realize throughout the day. Like when you're trying to get just a moment of peace and your kid is playing or doing something and you're about to like cook or clean or tidy up and then all of a sudden they're there. And you're like, okay.
Yes. Go to the bathroom.
Yes. And like they're skipping naps, talking back, they're lying. Those are all things that
Mm,
so many moms get so upset by, and rightfully so, because those
right.
things definitely have some underlying reasons why you would want to get upset. And
Right.
that's
And
like a
it's
part of the
okay
courses.
to
There
be
are.
upset. It's okay to be
Yes.
upset. It's
Yes.
just
The feeling of
the
anger is
volcano that
one.
erupts after that is what we're
Yes.
trying to control.
Yes. Yes.
So what can we do if we feel this mom rage and we're like, momster's coming out? What can we do
Yes.
to tame her?
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to say that the beauty of the course that I'm launching is we're going to go steps before that even happens and
Oh.
talk about why you're even feeling angry about those things, which again, it's understandable. And if there's a way for us to not be so triggered and not be so angry and feel so
Mm,
like we're at the tip of our volcano about to erupt, how can we go about that? How can we
okay.
work with you to tailor your needs and your desires and your support in order to work with you in your anger? We're
Got
going
it.
to get at like your thoughts and your beliefs and about your kids, about yourself, about your parenting, about your life. And there's so much underneath. It's like an iceberg. You know the pictures of the
Mm-hmm.
iceberg?
Yep.
Like what to do when you're angry and how to handle it afterwards is like the tip of the iceberg. But what is causing the anger is that big chunk underneath that is like
Mm-hmm.
supporting it.
And sometimes it's
So,
not directly associated to the kids. It could be something else
no,
that's bothering you.
yes. And it could be things like, I don't know, hangry. You're hangry. I
Yeah.
did that the other day and I was looking at my husband saying, I think I'm hungry.
I just need to eat something. Oh, well, I noticed I went to the grocery store the other day and I've been feeling a little stressed about money. And
Yeah.
my kids were like, I want to buy this. I want to buy this. And I was like, stop touching everything. But
Yes.
really, it was like, it wasn't my kids touching everything. It was because I was just feeling stressed about that.
Yes. Yes. And that's the part of the iceberg. That's
Hmm.
the part that sometimes we recognize, but 95% of our thoughts and beliefs are unconscious or subconscious. And those are the ones that we want to bring to light and
Got it.
actually shine a light on and get those worked on just so that you have some more peace in your life.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh,
But what you said, what can we do when it's coming on? Because I
yes.
want to have people leaving this podcast being like, okay, I can implement a couple things right away.
Okay. Things that we can do
Um,
today.
what you can do today is, first of all, check your thoughts when you're starting to feel that. I would even say discover what it means to feel angry for you, because that's going to help you stop between feeling angry and like busting out of your seams in anger.
Hmm.
So, what does it feel like in your body to feel angry? It's going to take a slow down process. It's kind of hard, but takes some practice and then it becomes easier with time. But discover what it means to feel angry. Does it mean your chest is tightening?
I was just thinking where in my body I feel it, like
Yes.
right here, like
Do
right
you
in my
feel it in your
chest.
shoulders too,
Oh,
tightening?
probably. I'm very tense all the time. So it's like,
Yes.
like that.
Yes. I
Mm.
don't know about you, but my biggest clue that I'm getting angry, my jaw tightens.
Clenching your teeth.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Clenching and my jaw tightening.
Ah,
Those are like warning signs. And the better that you get at noticing your warning signs, the better you'll be able to get at creating a big enough pause between feeling angry and
letting it go.
yelling so that you can attack it and you can say, okay, I'm feeling angry. That's another tip. Start learning how to communicate your feelings. Even if you name it the wrong feeling, it doesn't matter. Just
Hmm.
say how you feel. So when you're starting to feel the jaw tensioning, the jaw clenching, the shoulders tightening, the chest feeling heavier, constricted, maybe you feel hot. I start to feel hot.
Hmm.
When you start feeling those things, say, I'm feeling angry. I don't know what it is, but it completely diffuses so much of the anger. It
Yeah.
does. It's like it seems so simple. It really does.
Like it can't
But
be that
like
easy,
I will look
right?
at my kids and I'm like, I'm feeling angry. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
okay, whew,
Yeah.
okay, I feel less angry now. That's so
Yeah.
weird. um, you can also check your thoughts of like, what are you thinking when you're starting to feel that anger? Is it, oh, I can't handle that. Oh, this is so overwhelming. Oh, they're being so terrible. Check those thoughts in that moment because your thoughts are leading your feelings. Your feelings are
Mm.
then driving how you act or react. So
Actions.
if you're thinking, I can't do this, you probably feel disempowered. You probably feel overwhelmed and you're going to react in a way that's like yelling or like you feel like you can't have any control of it. You might um, either, I don't know, like walk away or just ignore it or not handle it, or you might feel like you need to just explode, or there's so much that goes on. But if you find a thought that feels it's believable and it makes you feel better, that's where we want to go. So
Mm,
if you're stuck in a thought of like, I can't handle this, I can't handle this, it's gonna be hard to move straight into, I can handle this, I'm the
right.
best. It's the
Like
most
your
amazing
subconscious mind
thing.
is like, that's not what you've
Yes.
been saying.
Yes, which is why, like, affirmations do work, but sometimes they don't because it's hard to get from "I can't do this, my situation sucks" to "I can
Really
do this
believing
every
in
single
it.
moment of the day, I'm super mom and my situation is the best." It's hard to
Mhm.
make that jump.
Yeah.
So, we wanna jump into, like, the facts. What's the facts? They are fighting, and I get to choose how I want to think about it. They are fighting, and I get to support myself how I need to. Those are facts. You get to
Mhm.
choose, and look, they're fighting, and it kind of simmers it down a little
Right.
bit.
Right.
It
Okay,
gives you a
this
little
is a
bit more
thought that I had. So last night
yeah,
my kids were very rowdy and
yeah,
I felt myself like I was trying to work on a puzzle like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay, this is lovely. This is nice." And it was
yeah,
just ugh. But as you were talking, what I really realized the thoughts that were going through my head were they're really loud and my husband's trying to do work and he's going to be super annoyed that I'm not keeping them quiet. Instead of just like, okay, they're loud, whatever. You're right. It was my thoughts about worrying about,
mhm,
oh, it's too loud for him, which might not have been the case. I think he came out from his
yeah,
office and had like headphones on and he wasn't even
yeah,
like hearing it. But my whole thing was like, stop being so loud, stop being so loud. Cause I was so
yeah,
worried about what he was thinking.
yes, and why is it a problem that he would be irritated?
Right. He can come out and say anything or he can put his earphones up. Yeah. Right.
Yes, he
Yeah.
totally can. He's in control of his emotions, you're in control of
Mhm.
yours. It's very, very kind and loving of you to want to be respectful of him, and he gets to make those decisions for himself. You could always pop in and say, "Hey, is it too loud for you?
Right. Yeah.
Do you want
And
me to
he'd be
help?"
like, what? Hear a headphone? Oh, I
Yeah.
don't hear anything. I'm like, sweet.
Yes.
Turn up the
Yes.
volume, kids. Start
Yes.
wrestling.
Yes, exactly. And
Oh, I
so
love that.
that's where, like, those little thoughts, they're sneaky. They're sneaky.
Mhm.
And that's the point of, like, coaching and this course is to be able to bring them to light and ask, "Is this true? Is this a true thought? Do we need this thought? Is it helping us? Is it serving us? Is it making us feel better? Is it creating connection between us and our kids and our husband and our family and
Mhm.
our friends? Or is it creating disconnection? What do we want out of this?"
Yeah.
And so
That's
that's
interesting because it didn't even occur to me until we were talking that that was like what was going on in my head.
right,
Those
right.
subconscious thoughts. Okay, so some pointers on, so we kind of know how we can navigate that. But what
Yeah.
happens if we have exploded? Because I'm
Yes.
still working on the like, how do I say sorry to my kids? Or like, how do I
Yes.
handle when I just like, because I feel like they're
Yes.
starting to just get used to it. Like, oh, mom yells. Like, and I don't want that
Yeah.
just to be the norm. So what
Yeah.
can I do if I do yell at them,
Yeah.
not intentionally, like I don't want to, but
Yeah.
how to navigate that?
Good question. It feels horrible. You're probably feeling an overwhelming amount of guilt. And then
Mhm.
guilt and shame are like sisters, but they're like not identical twins. Guilt is I feel bad because I've done something bad. Shame is then, or not bad, it's just like out of my values, out of what I
Right.
believe in, out of what I feel is right. That's guilt. Shame is I am now a bad person because I did something like
Mhm.
that. So you
Okay.
can get caught in the guilt and shame
Yeah.
spiral. And one way to get yourself out of that is to A, create some self-compassion in there. I'm a human being. Human, I'm not a robot. There is no way for me to be perfect all the time. And then B, with the apologizing, it's so uncomfortable to apologize to your kids sometimes. And I'm going to be bold and say that we grew up in a world that believed apologies meant like it's all my fault.
Mhm.
I take full responsibility of the entire situation. And not only that, I am doing it incorrectly and I'm not a good parent. It also could be like, well, I'm the parent, you should have been listening to me.
Right. That's what kind of was I was
Why were
thinking,
you
like
not?
70s, 80s, 90s, it was like authoritarian, like I'm the adult,
Yes.
you listen. Which I mean, I still want my
Yes.
kids to be like that, but
Oh,
there's more
100%.
to it.
Yeah.
It's also like
Yes, there's
understanding,
more to
oh,
it.
my 9-year-old is very impulsive, or it takes him like processing to even hear what I'm saying to actually
Yes.
do it. Yeah.
Yes. So after you yell, And if apologizing sounds like something that would be of interest to you, what does that usually look like for you? Like, for example, if you were to yell, is it usually like touch and go apology, or is it like you apologize every time a little bit later?
I don't know. I've never had like a sit down, like eye to eye. It's just like, whoa, guys, like it was just getting really loud and that was stressing me out. Like I've
Yeah,
been trying to tell them lately, like, ooh, the noise is really like starting to bother my ears. Like it's
yeah,
making me kind of stressed. And
yeah,
I erupted. I yelled.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. Honestly, just being able to explain what was going on for you and then saying, "Hey, I'm really sorry. You could say, I'm going to keep working on that. If that doesn't feel true to you, you don't want to make false promises, you don't have to. But it really is a matter of, do you feel comfortable apologizing? If not, that's where I would go into, okay, what's the belief underneath apologizing? How can we work towards that? And in my world, I don't know how it is for everyone. Every family is different. I would never say that you have to do exactly what I want to do, because every family functions a different way
Mhm.
that best works for them. But in my family, I feel like a better human being. For me, I feel better, not a better human being. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
It makes you feel
that
better. Yeah.
makes me feel better when I'm able to clean my side of the street and say, "Hey, it was getting really overwhelming. I got angry. I didn't handle my emotions that well. I yelled, and that wasn't okay. You didn't deserve to be yelled at in that moment. And I'm
Yeah.
very sorry."
Yeah.
And that, um, I don't know how you guys did apologies with your parents, if your parents apologized to you, but I know that every time my parents apologized to me, it felt like I could breathe a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I bet everyone in the house can. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
so funny. I like make my kids apologize to each other when they
Yeah.
haven't been nice. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I could bottle that also. It's
Yeah.
not just like a
Yeah.
kid thing. Right. And it's
Yes.
more than just the like, sorry, sorry that they like try
Yeah.
and do to show them like a genuine apologize. Like, this is
Yes.
what it means to mean it.
Yes. And you don't have to do it right away. Like, there's no set rule about, yeah, you have to do it right away. It could be years later, I'm sure, and
Mhm.
still be able to say, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people who have had been hurt by their parents years and years and years ago, and they apologized, and they feel like this stronger sense of connection with their family after that.
So it never hurts to apologize, no matter how much time.
Yeah. It's
Interesting.
tough though. It's an
It is
ego
hard.
thing.
It is hard. It's hard to say I was wrong. Yeah. Or
Uh-huh.
I'm not perfect.
Yes,
We
yes.
are all thinking yeah, I am not perfect. I just burnt this one. Okay.
Yes,
Okay, so
exactly.
let us know. You are starting a course in February.
Yes.
The enrollment is now officially open. So tell us like what your course will look like. What can people expect if they sign up?
Yes. So what to expect? They're going to get a message from me. I'll have my sign up link in the
I'll
show
put it in the
notes,
show
but
notes. Yep.
they're going to get either a message, an email from me, whichever works best for them, on Instagram or on email, letting them know that this is the link to go ahead and sign up. They're going to sign up. I'll let them know if there's any space left or not, because we're taking a small number of participants. That's why I want people to make sure that they're getting into it as quickly as possible. They're going to get the link, and then we're going to start February 22nd. There's going to be 4 sessions. Each session will be about an hour long, and they're going to be determined on the participants and their schedules. The first session is February 22nd, time to be determined again, because we're moms. We
Mm,
have all these schedules. We have football, baseball,
nap time.
gymnastics, tap dance, ballet. We have so much going on in our world. And now is the time to possibly shift some things in order to get something that you're probably battling every single day, the mom rage.
Right.
And I still want to know and recognize that, you have a life, and I want you to be able to come to the meetings live. That's where the most juice and bang for your buck
Mhm.
is going to be. But I also want to make sure that I'm taking into consideration the participants and their schedules and their time zones,
Yeah.
and we'll be figuring that out as it comes. It'll probably be like once every 2 weeks or something, but we'll figure it out as we go, because man, the true bang for your buck, and the juice will be in the live,
person.
being there live in it,
Yeah.
asking the questions on the fly that you have. And if you aren't able to come because things happen, things come up, you have to be there for something, the calls will be recorded, and they're going to be housed. Right now, they're going to be housed on Facebook. It's going to be a Facebook group. And then in future sessions, I'm hoping to get a different type of platform, if that works.
Got it. Got it. But that's so nice because you're going to have like a little support group. Like how
It
many of
is.
us moms are like, I just want to like be with other moms and chat with other moms and have my little
Yes.
group. Well, you're like forming that for people.
Yes. And that's the main, like the vibe, the feeling that I want to create in this community is a community. It's a community of moms
Mhm.
who are raising their hands, being very vulnerable, being very brave, being very strong, and saying, I really want to change this. And
Yeah.
now's my time. Now's my time. Now's my opportunity. I really believe in there's no coincidences. There's no coincidence that you as a listener are listening to this right now. Like there's
Mhm.
no coincidence.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that there is a part of you that does not want to be remembered as an angry mom. And sure, you can have angry times. That's totally normal.
Yeah.
And it's possible to not think of yourself as like this angry monster anymore, because the goal of the course really is to feel empowered and to become that calm, confident parent that you are desiring. And that's in you. It's in all of us. It's totally there. We just need a couple of tools, and it's
Yeah.
totally doable because, again, like I grew up being the angry, very emotional kid, and I went into being the angry, very emotional teenager and young adult. I have yelled at bosses. I have yelled at parents, siblings. I have yelled at coworkers. I have yelled at, let's see, who else? I have yelled at roommates. I've yelled at boyfriends. There it was no limit to my yelling.
Right.
So if I can do it, like anyone listening can do this. I'm not a unicorn. Like anyone can do it. They are just different tools that once you learn, you're changed forever.
Yeah. So almost consider this like self-care for yourself. Like this
A
is going to be a group that
1000%.
like is for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and 1000%. And it's so, I also want to put like, this course is called Rage to Redemption, and I'm targeting it towards moms, but I do have a couple of moms who are asking, hey, can my husbands be in it too?
Oh,
Can my
yeah.
husband join? And absolutely, your husband can
Right.
join too. And
Because it's not mom rage, it's parent rage. Like
it really is.
we both experience it. Yep.
100%, yes. And
Mhm.
I don't want any dads to be like, "Oh, I can't do that. I have to, be the tough, strong guy that's not involved in
Right.
that." Totally available for dads too, because yeah, like you said, it really is parent rage.
Yeah. We're humans.
Yes.
We feel these things.
Yes,
Awesome.
for
Okay. Well,
sure.
if they want to find you on social media, what is your handle for Instagram?
Yes, at Rachel Choate _ so RACHAELCHOATE _ and then I will put the link for the course below, and how to contact me, and how you can send me an email or a DM. And I would love to have you and ask or answer any questions that you may have. Um, I know in my heart of hearts that there is so much hope for like change and for development, and for I'm just imagining for people being able to go on holidays and vacations and not ruin it with the yelling, and
Mhm.
not feel so horrible that you're going to trips, or you're doing the homework battles, or you're doing the store runs, or goodness sake. And I don't know if you go to church, but whenever we go to church, there's this joke among the church women's of like, oh yeah, we yell at our kids and then go like la 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 at church, like
Forgiveness.
everything's good. And it feels so icky because it's disconnected.
Right.
So if we
Right.
could dramatically decrease the number of yelling that happens on the way to church, on the way to school, when they get back home from school, like that would just change your life so
Right.
beautifully.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm so glad that you came in and talked about all of this and I had you back on. This was so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I always feel like I'm talking to a best friend.
I know. I know. Every time I message you on social media, I'm gonna like, hey bestie.
Yeah, me too.
So fun. Well, I think it's probably because you are so honest about motherhood. It's not
Yeah.
like everything's perfect, everything's rosy. It's like, hey guys, like, and when you do have a great day and something is going wonderful, you share that also. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, woe was me all the time. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
today's been a great day. Yesterday was rough, but I changed it around. I love that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's normal. I could go on and on how life is 50-50, and you can't really appreciate the great without the really crappy days, without
Hmm.
the crappy moments.
Yep.
It's beautiful to appreciate those moments where everyone's getting along and quiet
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
nice.
No fighting. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so, so much. And I wish you the best of luck with your course. I'm so
Thank
excited to
you.
see how that goes.
And thank you for having me.
Well, I cannot thank Rachel enough for coming on again to the podcast. She is so relatable, but also just really gives tips that are like very easy to implement, that will actually make a big difference in our lives. So I'm very excited to start using some of these tips on how I can stop yelling so much at my kids. Um, I absolutely love her. If you are loving this podcast, it would be so amazing to me if you left me a 5-star review, um, followed the podcast, shared it with your friends. So if this is something that you were like, hey, this hit home for me and I think my mom friends would like to hear it, please share it. I love that. I love the community that we're forming here of moms who are not afraid of admitting that we're making mistakes, and are learning from them together. So until next week's conversation, I just want to wish you all the best week and remind you that everyone burns their first pancake and yells at their kids. So just keep flipping.